Okay, it happened so fast. Okay, Cammy and I, we're getting ready to walk out on stage, and this stuff hits us. I'm about to give you three key elements to shift your communication, to shift the fight, right? And then what to do when you don't, because everybody, I don't care who you are, I'm about to tell you something right now that happened with us. True story, can get out of these things. But I'm gonna give you three things now for you quick swipers. Here they are. Hear me, see me, understand me. Hear me, see me, understand me. Now, I'm gonna break those out, but this is a true story. Cammy and I, we're getting ready to go out on an event. We're getting ready to teach it. We're about to teach these concepts, all right? Just show you how fast this stuff can happen. We're in the hotel room. I'm in the other room. We're getting ready. We're 1 hour from being on stage. And I hear from the bathroom, will you ever just wipe down the sink? And right away, I feel my heart start pounding, right? My blood pressure's coming up, right? Now, I'm sure she'll have a little bit different take on that. We'll see if she jumps on here, of how the tone was, the tonality was in that comment. But here's the deal: right away, what jumps into my head first, right? Very thing right off the beat. Thank God I didn't say it. Probably because I was getting ready to go out and teach, and I don't want to feel like a hypocrite, right? But right away in my brain, I think, why don't you just go on there earlier and do your stuff first, okay? What do you think? How do you think that would have went, right? How would that played out? Because I would have missed a core element of these three concepts I'm about to tell you. And then when things get crazy, and they will, okay? Don't ever fall into the trap of thinking that you're gonna work on a tool and it's just gonna solve everything. It doesn't work that way. I don't care how good you get, how long you do it. You're gonna have to keep practicing, tweaking. But I'm gonna also give you here at the end of this video what you do when it goes sideways, and it will go sideways, but how you can shift that to your advantage. So three things. First is hear me. Are you even hearing what the words? Do you understand the word? Are you hearing the words that are coming out of my mouth and actually ingesting them? Or are you just waiting for me to stop talking so that you can start unloading your part? Okay. The very first piece is hearing me. It's critical. You have to hear. In that situation, I heard well. Okay. Check one. The next portion is see me. All right. See me. What do I mean by see me? It's not enough to just hear. Ever talk to someone and they're reading a newspaper, or they're playing a game, or they're watching an event, and you say something to them and it's like it passes in. You know they heard you, but there's no seeing. There's no what we say a lot, presence, right? What's happening there? You heard, but you're not seen. That happens, guys. Get ready. It's gonna the communication walls are going to break down, and that will open up the floodgates of conflict at high levels that you don't have to get to. So then the final one is understand me. Understand what? What do you mean understand me? Understand my heart and my motives, right? A lot of times we get to understand, and we try to just say whether I understand what you said. I understood what you said. That's not what I'm talking about here when I say understand me. Understand me. If you're going to master these things, when I say master, understand what I'm saying. Doesn't mean that you don't fall into the trap, you don't blow this thing up. But when you're on your game, you can hit this deal. Understand me means I understand your motive. I get what you're trying to say or do, and here's what happens in that space. You ready for it? Here's what happens in that space and why it's so important. You're able to hear the reasonable request in the statement. So flashback to us now, okay? Why don't you dry off the sink or something of that nature? I hear her. We have a couple words. We have a weird, awkward exchange where she feels the tension. I says, yeah, something. Yeah, I can something my part out of the story, right? That's I'm doing the recording, so let's go. And I can move forward. I go something, move on forward. She says a couple more things. Things are getting heated. I heard her. I saw her. She knew I saw and heard her, but I wasn't understanding her, right? And I could feel it in my bones. What I mean, I understand. I don't understand her motive. I hadn't broke down the reasonable request. Now, I'd love to say that I would have just navigated that perfectly in any situation, but I think I did good this time, guys. So hey, yeah, one clap. Yeah, give me one clap. In this situation, I actually stop what I was going to say, something along the lines like I was saying, like, why don't you go in there first and get yourself cleaned off, and then you wouldn't have to worry about, yeah. You see how that blows up, right? But in that moment, that time, in that space, I actually stopped and was like, okay, what's the reasonable request? The reasonable request is don't wait till later. Dry off the sink. Dry off the sink. You shaved your head, and you like to do the wet dog thing afterwards. Get ready, get in state. Okay, wipe. Just dry it down a little bit. That's reasonable. That's a reasonable question. But those are the steps. Okay, now it may have helped that I was getting ready to be on a platform having to talk about this stuff in an hour and a half. So I'm like, man, I got to make the right move here so I don't feel like a hypocrite the whole time. But here's the deal. When it comes to these conversations that we have, if you can nail these three things down, if you can nail them, you can truly hear them, right? You can see them and you can understand them, and they believe that you understand them, because you saying, yeah, I understand you, isn't the same as understanding. There's a feeling that comes like, okay, you get my motive. You get what I'm saying. So that said, what do we do when we mess this up? Because we will mess it up. The first thing that you want to do is set the stage. What do you mean by set the stage? Understand a couple things. If you're hungry, not the best time to engage in deep conversation, right? Or conflicting conversation. If you're tired, right? Not the best time. If you're stressed or rushing, you're like, that's my whole life. So what are you talking about? I get it, but understand you have to set the stage for some of this stuff, especially early on. So, okay, we're gonna practice this. Hear me, see me, understand me. Let's stack the deck a little bit. Let's get a nice beach background here, right? Let's go to a nice beach place. Now I'm being facetious. I know that's not real life, but you can time places to where, okay, we're gonna be in the car, we're not stressed out. In this situation, I'm getting ready to run out of the door. She's trying to get the last things together where our minds are in different spots. Probably not the best stage for us or me to say, let's talk about your approach here. Let's talk and open that can of worms. The stage isn't right. First deal, stage it. Next deal is this: plan for failure. Plan that you are going to mess this up, right? You're going to skip one of these steps. You're not going to see them. You're not going to hear them. You're not going to understand. You're going to, and plan for that. Because in the planning, you start doing something that leads right to the third piece, which is diagnosing or identifying what you missed. Why did this conversation go sideways? But now you have a framework for it. And you say, okay, we staged it right, or we didn't stage it right. I heard her, or I heard him. I saw him. I was present with him. Or in my situation, I see it now. I didn't pull out the reasonable request that was asked of me, right? Now, for example, someone walks in the house. Man, the dishes smell terrible. What's going on in here? Okay. Now that could start a fight real fast, right? Some of you heard that and your blood pressure jumped up a little bit, okay? Okay, yeah, you're right. But let's slow this deal down now. If you hear them, you hear it. If you see them, him, her, whatever, if you understand them, what's a reasonable request that's in there? What can you identify it? Oh, maybe the reasonable request is, let's rinse off the dishes after we eat, right? Now here's where the game changer happens. If you can get these portions, you won't always get it, right? And when you don't get it, you're okay because you're diagnosing still. You're not chalking it up as a failure. And this will help you even on the train when you're in the crazy cycle to kind of de-escalate it a little bit. Is you stop and you say, I got it now. I didn't articulate the reasonable request, because when you articulate the reasonable request, here's where the magic happens. When you say, oh, it sounds like you want us to rinse off the dishes before we set them in the sink, right? Yes, that's all I wanted. Whew. There's a de-escalation. A lot of times people even be like, good, your spouse is a good person, okay? You married him for a reason. A lot of times when you identify the reasonable request buried in it, because you heard them, you saw them, and you understood them, and then you ID'd the reasonable request, sometimes they'll be like, man, yeah, that is actually what I was saying. And they'll see, I kind of came at you kind of strong there. I kind of overreacted. Now, you can get there one of two ways, right? You can blow up. And we'll talk about that in the next couple deals here, but about the different personality types in conflict and how you navigate those and what to expect in those. But for this piece, I want to give you those three key takeaways, right? See them, hear them, switch those around, hear them, see them, understand them. When they don't, right? Set the stage. Now here's what you do when it gets wrong, or do it or beforehand, or when it gets crazy. Identify if you set the stage. Oh, the stage wasn't set right. Right? Then you want to go in, you want to plan for failure. You're not going to get this all the time. It's okay to say, hey, I missed that, and take a step back. Then IDing, what portion of the communication did I miss? Where did I fall short? Okay, here you go. That's for you. Take it, run with it. Let's make our marriages better. Look, our families need it. I can't say it enough, right? I can't say it enough. Our families need healthy marriages, right? The family affects the church. Our church needs healthy families. The church affects the community, the world. Guys, we can change the world by following Christian designs when it comes to marriage, following God's plan. When we invite him into the space and we set our minds, set our hearts, hey, we're going to do something good for him. Well, God bless you. Let's do this. Remember the three things. Take them down. When you mess it up, don't get discouraged. Don't fall into the trap of, even when you're helping someone else with this stuff, you can slip into the trap, right? To where you're trying to live up to the standard that you told to somebody. Build into your standard that, hey, I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to post this video People are going to see it. They're going to like it. It's going to help their marriage. And sometime this week, I'm going to blow this whole thing and have to recenter, regauge. But every time we do that, we're strengthening our marriage through the process of identifying. I've said enough. God bless you. Take it to the next level. Keep growing your marriage.